Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we're going to let you hear directly from a former Seahawk turned pundit, that is Riq Woolen. He had some interesting thoughts on your Seattle Seahawks as we near the end of the 2024 campaign. We'll break down what Riq had to say piece by piece and react to it coming up in just a matter of moments. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. If you still believe in your Seattle Seahawks, here's your chance to prove it. Like today's video, let your voice be heard. Who knows? Maybe a Seahawks player's watching, their family, their friends, whatever it may be. We want our voices to be heard loud and clear. Hit that like button. We'll get started with today's show. Riq Woolen, now working for TSN. That is the main sports channel in the great country of Canada, his home country. Does a great job. I got to tell you, I know that I live stateside, obviously, but every once in a while I do check in with what's happening across the border, and Riq does a great job on Sports Center. They spell it weird over there. It looks like Sports Centre with Jay Onright. And he was talking about this Seahawks team, his former team, and he made some very interesting points. And I want to break it down piece by piece of what Riq Woolen had to say and react to it. Let's start with the quarterback position. Riq Woolen said that Geno isn't the issue with this Seahawks team right now, and he was calling out the 12s in the process. Here is what he had to say. We wouldn't be in this spot if it wasn't for Geno. The man can only do so much, and then, of course, he's got to force the ball, make plays, the turnovers come, and Seahawks fans are all over this guy like he's the problem. Let me tell you something, Seahawks fans. He's the last person you need to be worrying about on this offense right now. Now, I get totally where Riq Woolen is coming from in all this, but where I disagree is that Geno isn't completely off the hook, because think about just who these Seahawks just faced on the other side. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's had a fantastic season, right? He's going to be a Pro Bowler. It's been a breakout year for him, comeback player of the year and all that. He's led the Vikings to a lot of wins this season. And he's been sacked almost as much as Geno Smith has this season. And his win totals, his numbers, all of that are drastically better than Geno Smith's is. Geno, I get it. And I agree with Riq to an extent that there's only so much Geno can do. But at times, Geno does make some careless mistakes, as we've seen, with the 2 interceptions that he threw on Sunday. 31 of 43 pass attempts. I don't think he should be throwing the football that much. I think that goes back to play calling and Ryan Grubb. We'll talk more about Grubb coming up later. Threw for 314 yards this past week. You see the numbers this season. And the completion percentage, extremely high. 70%, close to 4,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions this year. But with that said, I think that we did see in the small sample size of when Sam Howell got that opportunity in that Green Bay game of what Geno means to this team. I wouldn't say that Geno is problem number one by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think I've seen enough this year where I say Geno's got to be your long-term answer. Yes, you have other things that you need to take care of. Willson is right about that. But when we look at Geno Smith, there are times where he makes careless mistakes that hold this football team back. But then again, you do have to factor in the offensive line isn't doing him any favors, and the play calling has been very questionable this season. So, yes, I understand where he's coming from. I don't completely agree with that assessment. But with that said, I think that Geno could do better than what he has been doing. I think that's very fair to say. Do you believe in Geno Smith? Do you think he's the right man for this moment for Seattle? Type B for believe, D for don't. Way in the comments section. Let us know what you think. Seahawks Today is bringing you nonstop coverage like no one else is. And, folks, we are getting so close to 62,000 subscribers on the channel. The best gift that you can give somebody this holiday season is a free subscription to Seattle Seahawks Today. As my guy Pat McAfee would say, be a friend, tell a friend about Seahawks Today. Let's get some more subscribers. Let's get at least 20 subs off today's video. I think that's an easy goal that we can do today. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Never miss a moment right here on the channel. All right, number 2 from our guy, Luke Willson, talking about Ryan Grubb, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. He made it very clear that Grubb has a lot of work to do. Here is what Willson said. I would also say that Ryan Grubb probably needs to go back and maybe tighten the playbook. It's no longer UW in college. That's all I'm saying. And let's be frank, when it comes to Ryan Grubb, he's been an absolute mess when it comes to play calling. And when you look at what he's done with his struggles to establish the run, and I get it, there's limitations with this offensive line. But we've seen this run game be very good. The Arizona game was just a couple of weeks ago. That game, Ryan Grubb did an incredible job. But here we are. We're heading into Week 17. And when it comes to the play caller, the man leading the ship for this Seahawks offense, it's some of these same issues that we talked about earlier in the season. Points per game, middle of the pack. Yards per game, middle of the pack. Third down conversion rate, not very good. That's 24th in the NFL. Red zone touchdown scoring, that's been a problem. They can't finish drives and capitalize in the end zone. We've seen some turnovers down in the red zone one too many times this year. 18th in the league. Touchdowns per game, 10th in the league. That's their best category there at 2.6 touchdowns per game. But with that said, I think that Ryan Grubb, this first year in the NFL, there was going to be an adjustment of sorts. And I don't think that I am being too negative or I am being unfair by sitting here saying when we get to Week 17 that I expected more of this offense to evolve and to develop and look more like a pro-style offense, that Ryan Grubb would have this thing figured out by now. I think that's very fair to say that we should have expected more out of that. And if Ryan Grubb can't figure that out, maybe the NFL is just not the right game for him. Maybe he should go back to the college level. Maybe he made a mistake not sticking with the Alabama job and being there with the Crimson Tide, who just came short of missing the playoff this year. In that situation, maybe he's better suited for that potentially. Maybe the Hawks need a guy that knows the NFL way of things. Kalen DeBoer, I'm sure, would be glad to have would love to have Ryan Grubb back right now. He would call him back up in a heartbeat. Maybe that's where he belongs. But it's unfortunate because I think it's very fair to say we expected more. Should the Hawks fire Ryan Grubb? What do you think? Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Way in the comments section. Tell us what you think. Let's tell you about our sponsor. That is ZBiotics today. I love me some ZBiotics. It's a great gift this holiday season, folks, if you're looking for something last minute. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great day. That is until I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. The first time I tried ZBiotics was at a party. As instructed, I drank a bottle of pre-alcohol before any alcohol. I was amazed at how good I felt the next day. From Thanksgiving feasts to New Year's Eve celebrations, this holiday season is packed with events, but don't let the festivities leave you feeling less than merry. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic can help you savor the night and seize the next day. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports, and you can scan the QR code on the screen right now. They get 15% off your first order when you use Chat Sports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. All right, the last thing that we will touch on of what Luke Willson had to say. This one's not going to make people too happy. Luke Willson says the season is over. It's Jover, as the kids say. Here is more from Luke Willson saying the following. As I sit here, you got DK, who has not been as heavily involved as I think he should. JSN has been a great start. Lockett has kind of fallen off. The run game is gone. We get a ton of penalties. The Seahawks season is over, and I'm upset about it. Now, Luke Willson has every right to call this season over because right now the playoff odds aren't looking too great. About 8% chance, according to the New York Times, where things stand right now. But even with that said, I'm not calling it over yet. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm not there yet. But Sunday felt very crushing for this team's hopes. And let's break those things down piece by piece, starting with DK here. DK, it's been a good season, 60 catches, 897 yards, but just 4 touchdowns. You have the size, the body frame he does, and he's not getting in the end zone more. He's not being used to his full potential. Part of that's on DK. Part of that's on the offensive scheme. I know that he missed, a couple of weeks here and there with injury, but the way DK started the year, how good he looked, what happened? I mean, my goodness. I think it's very fair to say that DK has underperformed compared to his talent level and his potential. JSN, it's been a breakout year for him. I would say the biggest positive of 2024 has been what we've seen out of second-year wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba. Already over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, leading this team in receiving. And I'll say to DK's credit, he's actually opened up things for JSN to shine. But I'll tell you this, these next 2 games, in all likelihood, are going to be the end of an era for Tyler Lockett. Because next year, that $30+ million cap hit he's taken on and how much he's fallen off, it just ain't worth it, folks. It's over for Tyler Lockett. Unless he takes a significant pay cut of sorts, this is the end, and Seattle's going to be drafting a receiver pretty high to be Tyler Lockett's replacement next year because there's, with those type of numbers compared to what he was at just a couple of years ago, he's clearly not the same player he once was. It's been a great run for Tyler Lockett, but he's just not the guy that he once was. Now, also going back to what Willson had to say, he says the running game is just gone. 30th in the league in rushing yards per game. You can't win in this league not getting 100 yards on the ground. And you got the backs to do it. Arizona game was a great example of it. Only twice this year have the Seahawks had a running back rush for over 100 yards in a game this year. And penalties. This, to me, is the one that really just pisses me off. 30th in penalty yards per game. And that goes on everybody. A lot of it's on the offensive line. We've seen some stupid defensive penalties. You guys saw what Byron Murphy did with the face mask that changed the game completely, that was totally unnecessary the other day against Minnesota here. That's a lack of discipline. And the coaching staff's got to do a better job to get these guys' attention. Listen, I'm a Mike Macdonald fan. I like what he's done. It hasn't been perfect, far from perfect. This year's been pretty mediocre, but I think there's a reason to be optimistic about what Mike Macdonald's establishing here. But you got to get these guys' attention. This cannot be happening. We are towards the end of the season, and we're sitting here and we're still talking about this team making careless mistakes and biting themselves in the foot time and time again. That's not acceptable. That's not going to work. So now, you've heard everything that Luke Willson had to say. Is he right about the Seattle Seahawks in his assessment of the 3 things he mentioned today? Geno isn't the issue. That was number 1. Number 2, Ryan Grubb has work to do. And then 3, the season is over. Do you agree with everything that Luke Willson said? If you do, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. I think he makes some valid points, but I don't agree with everything. I'm typing in for no. Weigh in, let us know what you think. If you enjoyed today's show, you already know what to do. Like the video. We certainly would appreciate it if you guys did that. Appreciate you joining us here on Seahawks Today. Hopefully you have a fantastic Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and we'll see you next time right here on the channel.